So we're going to get started. There's a lot of people to thank for putting this on. Most of all, we thank the Roosevelt PTA and our Roosevelt staff who've worked so hard. They all came up with their own costumes and their own dances. And then we had quite a few people from our community, including my sisters and including Mrs. Vasquez, who I wanted to thank personally because she took a whole big role in doing this while I organized. There's lots of people to thank, and we'll get to that at the end. But right now, get ready to visit the House of Wonder.
Alice is bored, as usual. She is often this way when she doesn't have her smartphone. Her parents say it should be called a dumb phone because it turns people's brains to mush. But Alice thinks her parents just don't get it. Alice can't think of anything to do. Her parents took away her phone because she was sassy. Now Alice has attitude, major attitude. And on this day, she had so much attitude that her mother said enough was enough. And just like that, her phone was taken away. It happened occasionally, but this time was different. Alice, you are just going to have to use your long, neglected imagination to entertain yourself. Only then will you get your phone back, Mother said, exasperated. What? Alice yelled at her, forgetting for a moment to lose the sassy attitude that got her into the struggle in the first place. How can I do that without Googling it, she said. Her mother had a little bit of attitude herself and told Alice she would have to figure it out on her own. Alice just rolled her eyes. Then Alice's mom offered her a solution. Alice, she said, you can get your phone back if you exercised your mind a little. Alice sat up a little straighter. There was hope after all. Go visit a museum or a historical site, suggested Alice's mom. Go visit a place where history was made. A place that intrigues you, a place where you have to stretch your thinking. Alice sank back into the couch. She didn't want to see a bunch of ancient props and overgrown gardens and stuffed dummies. But on the other hand, she could get her phone back sooner than later, and she could invite her friends, Abs and Ems. Their real names were Abby and Emily, but Alice shortened their names to save time. Okay, I'll do it, Alice shouted to her mom. I'll go to a crummy old history house, but only for an hour and only with my friends. Her mom was tired of arguing, so she grudgingly agreed. But Alice had one problem. How was she going to get a hold of her friends without the phone? She was stumped. So she asked her mom. Her mom wanted to tell her to use her imagination, but then she remembered her daughter lacked one. So she told her to do what she did in the old days. She actually went over to someone's house to make plans. Alice rolled her eyes again. Who goes to someone's house these days to talk? But since she had no choice, she put on her shoes and she set out. Luckily, Abs and Ems lived right across the street, so she didn't have to go far. Abs and Ems agreed that some old house wasn't the most appealing place to spend an afternoon, but they were up for an adventure. So the three girls took off to catch the city bus. The girls were the only ones on the strange little bus. No one else got on, and the bus driver said not a word. He was an odd fellow. The bus rattled its way through the city streets, and as they grew closer to the house, the streets narrowed and the sky darkened. The girls noticed strange signs on the side of the road, signs that warned bus drivers to go back, don't enter, keep out. Adams and Abs were a little concerned. What's with the signs, they asked Alice. Alice replied nonchalantly, well, that's to keep kids out of the house, obviously. They don't want us because we know how boring they are. Ems and Abs looked at each other, not convinced Alice was right, but they didn't want to argue with her after all. She was Alice. The bus stopped and the driver turned to the girls and told them they had arrived. But the girls didn't see anything at first. The driver pointed up the street to a set of rather rusty gates. They looked like they were once grand, but age had taken its toll. A battered sign read, "The House of Wonder, established 1906." hung haphazardly across the top of the gate. Alice said, "That must be the place," as she and her friends piled out. The bus driver stared after them rather peculiarly as he drove off, and he warned, "Be careful in there, for things are not as they seem." Ems was a little perplexed and said to Alice as she followed her and Abs to the gates, "What's that supposed to mean?" "No brainer, Ems," Alice explained briefly. "Just another cranky old person giving us some useless advice." She examined the gates. These are really weird gates. They're ancient. They're probably like from the 80s. Suddenly, a high-pitched noise startled the girls. They turned quickly, and from nowhere came a strange sight. The girls crowded together. A man wearing a ridiculously large hat came tottering toward the trio. "Welcome, welcome, welcome," the hat-wearing man, who looked a little mad, said. "Welcome to the House of Wonder. It's like no place on earth. A house full of mystery and danger. Some say to survive it, you need to be as crazy as a hatter. And luckily I am." And he laughed uproariously. He disappeared down the street as quickly as he appeared. Abs and Ems and Alice stared after him in amazement. "What was that?" Alice said. No sooner had she said that than there was a loud thumping noise. They jumped back in surprise. Hesitantly, holding tightly to one another, they tipped over to check it out. Alice peeked through the gates. "What is this place?" she demanded. Abs and Ems tried to see over her shoulder. What they saw startled them. The noise they heard were guards marching up and down the courtyard of an old stone house dripping with vines. As the children spied on them dumbfounded, the guards, who had looked a little bored with the marching, began to shake their cards. When they finished, Alice shouted, "Who are you? It's not Halloween, you know." The guards froze in fear, but it was not the children they were afraid of. From out of nowhere, Another card appeared. Not just an ordinary card, but the Queen card. She was big, she was red, and she was angry. 2 huge guard cards accompanied her, one on each side. With the briefest wave of her hand, the Queen stalked around the ordinary cards and scattered them every which way. She shouted, "You fools! You numbskulls! How dare you let your guard down and show yourselves to these wonderless, clueless children?" The girls were shocked. First a Mad Hatter, then dancing guard cards, now a queen with her own sentries. The Queen gestured to the cards to leave. "Out with you! Out! Out! How dare you disrespect me? You are supposed to be guarding the house, you fools!" As the card guards shuffled away, the Queen's guards closed the gates with a clang, and the Queen locked the gates behind her with a giant key. The girls furiously rattled the slats. Alice yelled, "Hey, redhead! What are you doing? Let us out of here!" The Queen retorted, "Ha! You won't get out. Not with that brick brain of yours. The only way out of the House of Wonder is to imagine your way out, or be turned into lifeless creatures like all the other children who visited here." And she laughed wickedly. Alice said, "You can't be serious. You can't make us stay here against our will." The Queen leaned menacingly toward Alice. "Be very careful how you speak to me, young lady, or it's off with your head." She turned on her heels and began marching down the street, muttering about disrespectful guards and rude little children. Alice looked around and complained, "Oh, brother, she sounds just like my mother." They were in a courtyard. There was a pond and statue, lots of ferns and trees, even bizarre-looking mushrooms and giant flowers. Alice commented, "This place is hideous. It needs a makeover." She wandered over to take a closer look at a rabbit statue. Alice turned to her friends and said sarcastically, "How are we supposed to get out of here? Think this old rabbit could help us out?" Her friends thought maybe she could, if only she could talk, but they didn't dare tell Alice that. Suddenly, the large rabbit moved just a little bit. Alice didn't see it, but the other girls noticed. Ems asked anxiously, "Did you see that?" Ems exclaimed excitedly, "Yeah, the rabbit, it moved." Alice scolded them. "Ha! What are you talking about? It's a statue. Nothing but clay and muck. Just a big, ugly cement rabbit." Just then, the rabbit moved a little more. This time, Alice noticed. She took a step back. The rabbit rose on its hind legs and stepped out of the garden. As she bowed, she said, "Good evening, ladies. My name is Mrs. Rabbit. Lucky for you, your friends have a little more imagination." Alice was very skeptical about the rabbit and walked around and around her. "I don't believe this," she muttered as she poked and prodded her. "Who are you really? Did my parents send you?" The rabbit replied indignantly, "Who in the world am I? Ah, that's the great puzzle. Obviously, I'm a rabbit child, a rabbit who doesn't have very much time." And she pointed to her giant stopwatch. I'm late for a very important date." Alice said, "Rabbits can't talk." The rabbit replied, "My dear, you need to wonder a little more and worry a little less. Imagine what you want to see, and you may find your way out. Otherwise, you might end up like the rest of them who once were visitors like you." And she gestured to the garden. Alice retorted, "Well, I am using my imagination, and right now I'm imagining things aren't real." And she stomped off. "My, said the rabbit to Abs and M's. "She is a tough one, she is." Abs and M's were not entirely convinced that what they saw was real either. But the rabbits seemed nice enough, and besides, they wanted to get out of there as soon as possible. So they were willing to believe in the unbelievable for the moment. Abs asked the rabbit, "How did we get, out of here?" "Well, it's simple," she said. "You made me come alive with a little sprinkling of imagination." Ems chimed in, "How did we do that?" "Simple, simple," the rabbit replied. "You thought I could help you if only I could talk. And without wondering, you made me come back to life. Now you must make your way through the house, and when things aren't as they seem, imagine them differently. They will come to life and thank you for setting them free. If you do that enough times, you will earn the right to challenge the queen. And if you win, she must release you." And with that, the rabbit bowed and began to hop away. But as she turned to leave, she gave a warning. "You don't have much time. If you don't imagine enough before sundown, you will be locked away, frozen in time like all those other unfortunate children. You have set me free, and I'm late for my date. My date is today, and I'm set free." And she hopped away hurriedly. "Oh my," said Ems. "What do you think she meant when things aren't as they seem?" Ems nodded and looked around. It was hard to imagine anything out of the ordinary in the unkempt courtyard. "Everything seems normal here," she said. "What things aren't as they seem? The pots, the trees, the flowers, the ferns?" As soon as she said that, a joyful sound began and soared around them. appeared. The girls, who appeared slightly stunned, were alone again in the courtyard, except for an enormous blue caterpillar who had crept up behind them. My, it said in a lazily high-pitched voice. The girls turned around and jumped back in surprise, and exclaimed, "Oh my, it's a caterpillar, a rather large one at that." Abs added, "And it can talk. Imagine that, an enormous talking caterpillar. Can things like get any curiouser? Is that caterpillar even possible?" The caterpillar just stood there, examining its many arms or were they legs. Whatever they were, the caterpillar was busily accounting for all its parts. Then the caterpillar finally said, "Yes, of course it's possible. Why, sometimes I believed as many as 6 impossible things before breakfast. Can you give me a hand?" And it laughed hysterically. Get it? Give me a hand when I have 8 of them. Abs and M's just stared at it. "Oh, brother and sister," the caterpillar complained. "If I had a world of my own, it would be nonsense. But listen," the caterpillar spoke more urgently. "You need to move quickly. You have so little time and so much to do. Hurry, hurry, hurry," it said as it crawled across the courtyard and disappeared between the plants. "You know," Abs said slowly, "just before the caterpillar appeared, I was looking at the ground and I noticed a teeny tiny caterpillar inching along and thought maybe, like, it knew the way out. And then suddenly, that curious blue one appeared." And explained in excitement, "I got this. Things aren't as they seem. Just means we use our imagination to make them real. Let's go find Alice before it's too late." A door. A very strange door, indeed. They slowly and cautiously opened it up, for one never knows what's behind closed doors. And the 2 girls found themselves in a hallway. Not just an ordinary hallway, but one crowded with hat racks. And hats. Dozens and dozens of top hats. And cowboy hats and pirate hats, orange hats, green hats, even plaid hats. Abs and M's tried on several of them. "Remember that strange man when we first got off the bus?" And said, "Maybe he used to be a kid, and then became one of these. A child hat gone mad from living here. And as soon as she finished saying those words, the hats tumbled from the racks and stood in front of them. By now, the girls were so used to the unreal being real, they hardly flinched. The hats bowed to the girls, and one said, "We call ourselves the Mad Hatters, and now that you have wondered about us, you have set us free. Thank you, thank you." And they made their way down the hall. But Abs called after them, "Wait, what other sort of things live here anyway?" One of the Mad Hatters shouted back, "Oh, mad things, crazy things, just look around." Ems slowly replied, "But we don't want to be around mad things. We want to go home." The Mad Hatter explained slowly, as if he was talking to a sane person, "You can't go home yet. You have more things to set free. Then you can challenge the queen, and if you win, maybe, just maybe, she'll let you out." Abs asked, "Can you tell us where Alice is?" "No, but we can dance for you." The largest hat said, "Find your friend, for you are running out of time." And they sashayed down the hall and disappeared. The girls shouted, "Alice! Alice! Where are you?" They heard a faint noise to their right. They hurried to it and found themselves in a bathroom. A massive bathtub sat in the middle of the floor. The tub was filled with rubber duckies, and in between all the duckies sat Alice! The girls embraced Alice. "How did you get here? Where have you been? You wouldn't believe what we found out. You wouldn't believe what we've seen." The girls talked over each other until Alice covered her ears and screamed, "Stop!" Then she told them that after she saw the rabbit talking, she went to the edge of the courtyard and wished she was home, reading in her bathtub, her safe spot. And then, all at once, she found herself holding a book in a bathtub. But it wasn't her house, and it didn't feel safe. Abs told her, "That's just it. You imagined something and it became real." "Oh, right," said Alice. Not believing a word Abs told her. "Like I'm going to imagine these duckies are really She couldn't think of anything to wonder about until her eyes fell on the cover of the book in her hands. Peacocks. Strutting their feathers as they ignored the girls. By now, Alice, who felt a little put off by the arrogance of the peacocks, was nearly convinced that something indeed was not as it seemed in this house of wonder, but she couldn't quite admit it to her friends. Not yet, after all. She was Alice. No one was going to fool Alice. She stood up in the bathtub. "There's a little too much imagination going on around here," she announced as she led the way out of the bathroom. Alice and Ems followed her into the hallway. They saw a light flickering from the next room. Alice hurried to it and immediately stopped in her tracks as light filled the space. She was in the middle of a rather chaotic room filled with a massive dining table with clutter strewn every which way. Plates and teapots and trays and food overfilled the table. The girls were astonished at the sight in front of them. Alice picked up a teapot and said in a sing-song voice, "I'm a little teapot, short and stout," thinking that maybe the teapot would come to life, but it just sat in her hand. She picked up a loaf of bread and said, "Okay, bread, you're not what you seem. You're a..." But she couldn't think of anything. Nothing happened. "See," said Alice to the others. "It's not imagination. It's just done with remote controls and hidden cameras." And she dropped the food on the floor. Immediately, something ran across her foot and she screamed and hopped up and down. Peacocks who strut and mad hatters who dance, a room full of clutter and large things that prance. Something just now grabbed my foot. Have I gone crazy? With that, from underneath the table, 4 giant gray mice crawled out and swarmed the girls. One of them told Alice, "I'm afraid you have gone mad, Alice, but we'll tell you a secret. All the best wanderers are bonkers too." Alice said to her friends, "Okay, this is getting a little intense. I'm not quite sure I can take much more of this." Alice told her, "Of course you can. Imagination is our best weapon against this war with unreality. We have to use it or lose our heads." Alice asked, how do we know what's real and what's fake? There's a lot of fakeness going on in the world right now, you know. I read about that in the news. Alice retorted, "It can't be fake if it's real facts, Alice. And besides, that's a whole other story. Let's take this one." Alice added, "Let's just focus on getting home. Too bad I don't have my phone. I'd imagine it was Uber." The girls headed back into the hallway and entered the next room. They found themselves in a bedroom taken up by an enormous bed. Dozens of stuffed animals in all shapes and sizes were strewn across the blankets. Ella plopped down on the bed. Whoo! Well, at least this feels like home. But way too much stuff. She picked up a stuffed cat to examine it. Suddenly, she felt a claw in her hand. Ouch! She threw the stuffy across the room. "It scratched me!" Alice picked it up. Stuffies can't scratch. Unless, she turned to Ems, they aren't what they seem. They could be, Ems finished the sentence, they could be, I know, they could be real, like cats. Alice hadn't been a bit of help so far. The girls left the room and stood in the hallway. Alice said to no one in particular, "We've set a lot of things free by using our imagination. I think it's time we find that bossy old queen and challenge her." The girls retraced their steps and ended up in the courtyard again. Abs asked, "How do we find her?" "You don't find her, she finds you," said the caterpillar, who had been lounging in the shade. It was busily examining its feet, or were they arms, for signs of treadwear. Suddenly, trumpets sounded. Just like that, who should appear but the queen and her two burly guards. Alice went right up to her and said, "Okay, Queen of Hearts, or whoever you are, we want to go home now." The queen was obviously very annoyed with Alice. She was not happy that Alice and her friends had set free some of her prized possessions, children. My, what a rude child you are," she said, and then she laughed wickedly. "I will be delighted to make you stay here forever. I think you will enjoy being, what can I make you seem to be? I know, frogs in the pond." She snapped her fingers at the silent guards and they laughed with her. Again, Alice barked, "What about the challenge? We demand a challenge." "Ah, yes, the challenge," the queen replied. "Of course, we can have a little challenge." And she snapped her fingers again. The guards picked up a giant roll of rope from behind one of the gates. And gave it to the queen. "Here are the rules, children," the queen told the girls. "My guards and I accept your challenge. A challenge game of tug-of-war. If we win, you stay with me and take your place in the pond. If you win, well, you won't win, so I won't bother telling you what happens." Alice looked at Alex and Ems and then looked at the big old queen and her guards. "Now, that seems a little unfair," Alice complained. "Life isn't fair," the queen said. "Nonetheless, live with it or not, the choice is yours." She unrolled the rope and handed it to Alice. "Oh, brother, again," Alice said. By now she was cranky, and the thought of living out her life in a swampy pond and eating flies was almost too much. The queen and her guards were busy flashing their muscles as they taunted the girls. They knew brute force was on their side, as was history, for they had yet to lose a challenge. All at once, the rabbit appeared, followed by all the other creatures freed by the girls. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, queens and guards, caterpillars, the rabbit announced. "Oh, for heaven's sake," the queen scolded her, "get on with the countdown." The rabbit glared at the queen, but nonetheless took out her pocket watch. "On my count of 3, commence with the challenge." And without, she counted 3, 3, 3. have been busily examining its feet, or were they arms again. The rabbit went over to the queen and took the key to the gates and gave it to Alice. Alice exclaimed to her friends, "Wow, that was great. We are like amazing. We beat the queen." Abs and Em shook their heads, for Alice hadn't learned a thing. "Alice," Ab said, "we imagined things to help us win, and they happened." "What?" Alice replied. "We won on sheer girl power." Alice explained to Abs, "I imagined we'd do better with a few more hands, and suddenly the caterpillar joined us." And Em said, "And I imagined the flies from the pond swarming the guards and the mice nibbling their legs, and it happened." The rabbit said to the girls, "You are free to go now, children. You have used your imagination to believe things are not quite what they seem. Go home, and for goodness sake, put away your phones." And she hopped away. "Well, girls, let's go," Alice said. "I can't wait until my parents hear about this. Now they will complain that I have an overactive imagination." And the girls took off down the road. Introducing the mother. The bus driver. The car guard. The Mad Hatter. The Fern Fairy. The peacock, the mice, the striped cat, Ms. Rabbit, the caterpillar, the queen and her guards, and Abs. And our writers, directors, and producers, Mrs. Russell, Mrs. Dunkin, and Mrs. Schiffner.
Thank you for being such a great audience. That was the House of Wonder. I don't think you'll ever look at Alice's Adventures in Wonderland ever the same again, but this was our interpretation. We hope that when you go home tonight and you celebrate the next few weeks and that you have time to be with family and friends and you celebrate your traditions and all your cultures and everything you do to make this season special, remember this was our gift to you. So boys and girls, it's time to go back to class. Everybody have happy holidays and we'll see you next year.